Hello and welcome to our viewers around the world and in Nigeria. Lunchtime Politics starts right now. Vice President Kashim Shettima departs Nigeria for Cuba to attend the G77 plus China Leaders Summit. Minister of Interior says about 60,000 passport backlogs has been cleared by the Nigerian Immigration Service in just 4 days. And we shift our attention to the brewing political intrigue playing out in Ondo State as Governor Rotimi Akeredolu disbands the media team of his deputy, Lucky Ayedatiwa, days after returning from his medical vacation. We begin our midday tracking of the polity from the presidency, where Vice President Kashim Shettima has left Abuja to represent President Bola Tinubu at the G77 Leaders Summit in Havana, Cuba, which holds from September the 15th to the 17th. A statement from the Vice President's office explains that he will be joining other world leaders, including United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, to discuss development issues, explore proactive ways of addressing challenges, leveraging on science and technology to enhance the socioeconomic growth of member states. The statement adds that on the sidelines of the summit, the Vice President will hold bilateral meetings with other world leaders to promote Nigeria's trade and investment relations in line with the economic development diplomacy of the current administration. And in what appears to be good times for those seeking to secure international passports, the Minister of Interior, Lubumi Otunji-Ojo, says a total of about 60,000 passport backlog has been cleared within 4 working days. This comes after the minister earlier directed the agency to clear all pending passport applications as quickly as possible. The minister disclosed this while receiving the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, who was on a courtesy call. According to Dr. Edu, the visit was informed by the need to extend a hand of partnership to collaborate with the Ministry of Interior as it seeks to drastically reduce human trafficking and other related challenges, including poor veterans' welfare, underemployment and poverty among citizens. And now to the issues of food security. Apparently, the intervention of the International Fund for Agricultural Development in the rice and cassava value chain is yielding some desired results. According to the country director of IFAD, Ms. Dede Eko, the organization's effort has so far created over 11,000 direct and indirect jobs for smallholder farmers and income for households in line with the federal government's vision of attaining food security. She was speaking at a meeting with the Ministry of Agriculture and project coordinators in the states in Abuja.
Participants drawn from the 9 participating states of the Value Chain Development Program, an intervention of the International Fund for Agricultural Development and the federal government, are converging on this hall to assess how the lives of smallholder farmers and their communities are improving across the value chains of rice and cassava. Food security, job creation, and agricultural productivity is the major target of the program.
It is imperative that we work collectively to ensure sustainable food system and improve the livelihoods of the target community. The CDP, as I was saying, has achieved through the year notable milestone. It has made substantial impact on the lives of rural community in the 9 states where the project operates.
So far, over 11,000 direct and indirect jobs have been created, with production and increase in yield receiving a boost. This vision aligns with the present administration's vision to tackle hunger while ensuring food security.
Or new ideas that will help us to achieve the programs to achieve the objectives of the programs as stated in the program objectives, which is to the benefit of our smallholder farmers. And this is coming at a very critical time because of the challenges that we are having in the country, especially with regards to food inflation, food security. And it's not only Nigeria, it's not country specific, because it is world over.
The contribution of the project to Nigeria's food security is undeniable with significant contributions to rice and cassava production. Moreover, the mainstreaming and commitment of gender and youth inclusion is evident through job creations, skill development, and income-generating opportunities for women and youth.
The Value Chain Development Program cuts across 9 states. They include Nasarawa, Kogi, Benue, Taraba, Enugu, Anambra, Ebonyi, Niger, and Ogun states.
To the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives has directed the National Boundary Commission to put on hold the planned demarcation of the Sana area of Michika local government area in the boundary dispute between Nigeria and Cameroon. Chairman of the House Ad hoc Committee, which is investigating the boundary dispute, Mr. Benny Law, conveyed the resolution after a meeting with concerned parties in Abuja. Meanwhile, the Solicitor General of the Federation, who was also present at the hearing, says it is too late to appeal to the 2010 judgment of the International Court of Justice, but the lawmakers are concerned and want an appeal at the ICJ. Now, the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, has sacked all media aides attached to the office of his deputy, Lucky Ayedatiwa. Governor Akeredolu had only resumed work on Friday after a 3-month medical trip to Germany. According to a statement by his media aide, Richard Olatunji, all members of the press crew attached to the deputy governor have also been disbanded with immediate effect. He directed the Ministry of Information and Orientation to provide coverage for the activities of the deputy governor's office henceforth. On his part, the deputy governors, however, pledged loyalty to the governor. A few days ago, a similar scenario played out in neighboring Edo State. And just before we bring in our guests to explore what is going on in Ondo State, let's just bring you a basic timeline, if my producer can get me back what was on the screen just before now. Remember that about 3 months ago, the governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, had left Nigeria on a medical leave. For June the 7th, 2023, he transmitted a letter through the House of Assembly so that his deputy could take over in acting capacity on July the 15th. Governor Akeredolu returned from his medical leave on Friday, September the 7th, and just yesterday disbanded his deputy's media team. And we're expecting that the Ondo State election should be coming up sometime late next year. So what exactly is playing out in Ondo State at the moment with the return of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu? We're being joined on the program via Zoom by our political analyst, Mr. Jide Ojo. Mr. Jide, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure.
So first, let's help us unpack the initial political intrigue going on in Ondo State ahead of the 2024 governorship election, if you will.
Okay, so what is happening in Ondo State is not unusual. As you rightly pointed out in that background, a similar scenario played out last week, a couple of weeks ago, actually, in neighboring Ondo State, where the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, sacked all the media aides of Shuaibu, Comrade Shuaibu, who is his deputy, and even asked his deputy to take leave of the government house and relocated him outside of where his office used to be. However, in neighboring in Ondo State, what has happened now is that in the course of the 90 days absence of Governor Akeredolu, a lot of water has passed under the bridge. There were a lot of political intrigues. There were those who felt Lucky Ayedatiwa should exercise full control of executive powers. Don't forget, Mr. Bola Ajayi was the deputy governor to Governor Akeredolu in his first tenure, and he decided to contest against the governor during the election for second term. And that recuse led to the exit of Agbola Ajayi from APC to PDP and from PDP to Zenith Labour Party. Ultimately, he lost to Governor Rotimi Akeredolu in his second term. And now, the face-off between Agbola Ajayi and Governor Rotimi Akeredolu then led to the choice of Lucky Ayedatiwa, who then was a member of House of Representatives from the Bayelsa Ondo area. Now, the illness or indisposition of Governor Akeredolu is what led to the situation where he had to seek medical attention abroad. And you recall that at some point, the former chairman of APC, that's All Progressive Congress, Senator Adamu Abdullahi, said sometime in July that Governor Rotimi Akeredolu was grossly incapacitated as a result of that sickness. So that first speculation about his death, there were on about 2 occasions, it was rumored to have died, but he survived. And he did the right thing by handing over to his deputy, knowing full well that he was going to be away for far more than 21 days. That is constitutionally agreed that a governor can travel without handing over. So he communicated the State House of Assembly, Ondo State House of Assembly, to say that his deputy will be holding forth while he is away. However, in that interim, during that about 90 days interval, rumor mills started gaining ground. People started urging Lucky Aiyedatiwa to exercise full control of executive power and not just be a lame duck acting governor. And this was worsened supposedly by the media aides to the deputy governor, some of whom were said to have lambasted the governor in a WhatsApp post, which was screenshot and sent to the governor. There were also allegations that some stories were planted in the media to disparage and discredit Governor Akeredolu. And you know, in a state like Ondo State, given the fact that electioneering process will soon start happening against 2024, you never can tell whether Lucky Aiyedatiwa will want to contest. And of course, this is all about test of loyalty. It will seem like either the deputy governor or his aides are sowing seeds of discord within the Ondo State government, for which some of the loyalists of the governor has gone to briefing about what has transpired. But Lucky Aiyedatiwa has issued a statement to say that he is 100% loyal to his governor and that he is not nursing any ambition to truncate his administration, neither has he done anything to undermine the powers and authority of the governor.
Mr. Ojo, I'm happy you mentioned the fact that he's come out to say he's quite loyal to the governor, but after the governor disbanded his media team and told him to go through the ministry and all of that, and he's declared his loyalty, we haven't heard whether the governor has reinstated his media team. Does this, for those who are speculating that this may be some kind of a playbook for controlled visibility, given the quote-unquote ambition of his deputy, is there any truth to it?
No, in every rumor, there's always an element of truth. Definitely, there are some truths to it. Maybe the governor, the deputy governor, have insinuated or told some of his loyalists about his ambition to succeed Governor Akeredolu in 2024. And this is why I said what's always playing out in Ondo State is akin to what's playing out in Edo State, because the whole face of the old brouhaha between Governor Godwin Obaseki and Governor Deputy Governor Shuaibu was as a result of his ambition to succeed the governor. Governor Godwin Obaseki is on his second and final term, and Deputy Governor, felt he could succeed his principal. The same thing may have happened in the case of Lucky Aiyedatiwa. Governor Akeredolu is serving his second and final term. So that seat will be open, will be declared vacant in 2024. And possibly he has mentioned it to a couple of people that he wants to succeed the governor. And you never can tell the mind of the governor whether the governor had his own anointed candidate that he wanted to support. So you are not far from being right by saying that they want to shadow his visibility in the media space and cut him to size and made him not to outshine him. Because one of the 48 laws of power is for you to outshine your principal, to outshine your boss. Possibly in the course of acting as governor, he perhaps has done a couple of things that is read to have been tantamount to wanting to outshine his governor. And I can draw a similar parallel with what happened to former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. You recall that in the 8 years of Buhari presidency, immediately after the President Buhari came back from his medical tour in 2017, in which case he exercised some executive powers. For instance, the sack of the then DG of DSS or SSS, as you may want to call it, I think Lawal Daura. Immediately he exercised that power and the president came back. The president in the remaining 6 years never trusted Yemi Osinbajo with executive power. All the other medical tours that the president went, former President Buhari, he never handed over power again to Yemi Osinbajo until he left power. And you could also see eventually how he dealt with the case of the ambition of Yemi Osinbajo to succeed him as president. And what that has brought about former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, in which case now he's being treated like a pariah in APC circle. I recall that on the day of the primaries, he was echoed, even as a sitting vice president, he was echoed when he went to greet the delegates from the Southwest. They called him unprintable names, that he's a betrayer, he's disloyal to Asiwaju, and that he should not have contested against Asiwaju. And of course, you saw that even in terms of insinuation, Buhari was never in support of his vice president succeeding him. Because if that were to be the situation, the former chairman of APC would have said, when he addressed the National Working Committee, that the president had put his weight behind his vice president, Yemi Osinbajo. But he said the president has put his weight behind Ahmed Lawa, who was then the president of the
Mr. Joe, if you can hear me,
so
if I'm
these are power
here.
plays and intrigues that play out. Yes.
Yeah, if I'm about in here, this is not the first time this is playing out in Ondo State. Remember, as you mentioned, it happened with Agbola Ajayi. Is this a coincidence? Because they say first time is maybe an incident, second is first is an accident, second is an incident, then the third time is deliberate. This is the second time this kind of scenario is playing out in Ondo State. I'm wondering, why is he always falling out with his deputies? Is it that he's picking people he can't trust with power in case he needs someone to succeed in that has worked with him? I'm just saying.
I don't think, I think it's just a personality issue here. It's a personality issue because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also has similar experience, or he actually acted in the same period, in the same way when he was governor of Lagos State, and people are waiting and watching how his relationship with Kashim Shettima will end. Recall that two of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's deputies fell out with him. First was Koforala Akerele, and then Femi Pedro. And these two, one lady and gentleman, fell out with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his 8 years as governor of Lagos State. So it has also happened now with Rotimi Akeredolu. I think it's just about not reading the mind of the governor very well. Any attempt to succeed your principal is actually seen as an act of disloyalty and betrayal. More so, if you have not previously discussed with him and gotten his approval before that notion is expressed. Because out of all the former governors in Nigeria, it was only Ganduje, who is now the National Party chairman of APC, that was backed by his principal then, Rabi Musa Kwakwanso, to succeed him as governor of Kano State. And you could see how frosty the relationship between Ganduje and Kwankwaso have come now, to the extent that Ganduje was even threatening to slap his former principal after the 2023 election when he visited the president. So this is part of the challenge. Many of the deputy governors never got the nod of their principal to succeed them. And this may actually have been what Lucky Ayedatiwa did, that may have put him at collision course with his governor.
All right, Mr. Ojo, just before I let you go, I'm looking at what happened and played out in the last election when Governor Akeredolu was seeking re-election, and it got all the way to the Supreme Court, where it was a decision of 7 justices of the Supreme Court, and 4 for and 4 were against, who were in the minority judgment. How does this, for you, could this affect this internal intrigue and jostling going on between the governor and his deputy and other players behind the scene? How will it affect the chances of the APC in next year's election, given that it literally barely survived re-election in the last election?
Well, what happened in the last election, which was a split decision of the Supreme Court, as you rightly put it, was basically issues around who signed his nomination form, where it was the May Malabulin, then acting as chairman of caretaker of APC, that signed the form. And there were allegations from the camp of Yita Jegede, the PDP candidate, that the May Malabulin then was holding two executive positions, which is found out by the provision of the Constitution. So their lordship was split on that. But on the point of who won the majority of valid vote cast, I think Akeredolu was on sure footing. So there could be other reasons why that split decision happened. And we know that that's not the only instance where there have been split decision of the Supreme Court on election matters. It also happened in 2007 presidential election, where it was a split decision of 4-3 that gave victory to Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. But what I will say in final analysis is that I think there are mischief makers in Ondo State, some of whom want to curry favor from Rotimi Akeredolu, and may have been feeding him with some kinds of lies, misinformation and disinformation about what actually transpired while he was away on medical leave. So these people who intend to reap politically from the next election may have been the one fanning the embers of this discord between Rotimi Akeredolu and his deputy governor.
All right, Mr. Ojo, if I may, thank you so much. Mr. Ojo is a political analyst. Jide Ojo is our political analyst, and he's been bringing us his perspective on the development in Ondo State as regards the governor and his deputy. Mr. Ojo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure. Do stay safe and stay blessed.
Thank you. All right, to other stories now. The Yobe state government will not condone wastage and diversion of resources aimed at providing a better livelihood to the people and the residents. That's according to the governor, May Malabuni. Governor Buni disclosed this while swearing in 9 newly appointed permanent secretaries at the government house, that's in the banquet hall in Damaturu, the state capital.
Your ascension to this office is purely based on merit, competence, and capacity. You are therefore expected to add value from your wealth of experience to the civil service for government to achieve its set goals and to efficiently and effectively deliver the required services to our people. As we undertake our second and final term of office, we will ensure that government resources are judiciously and effectively used to improve the welfare of our people. Therefore, let me warn that government will not condone wastage or diversion of government resources to sabotage our efforts towards providing services to the people.
Now, the campaign train of the African Democratic Congress governorship candidate in Kogi State, Mr. Aleke Agbejide, is in Kwara State to meet with the Kogi State indigenous residents in that state as he seeks their support in the November 11, 2023 governorship election. Addressing the Kogi indigenes, Mr. Agbejide, who is a two-term member of the House of Reps, reaffirms his commitment to transform Kogi State if elected as the next governor. Now, let's move on to Bayelsa State, where former legislators in the State House of Assembly have endorsed Governor Doyediri's bid for a second term in office. The ex-lawmakers, under the aegis of Bayelsa Former Legislators Forum, passed a vote of confidence on Governor Diri during a courtesy visit to the government house. The former Speaker of the House moved the motion of endorsement and was seconded by another former Speaker and the acting Governor of the state in 2008, Unipre Seba Rubu.
Your Excellency, this is one forum that have put themselves together to add value to the state, to cooperate and work with every prepared and willing government, and again, to remind themselves of their activities while being active legislators. Your Excellency, we also came to register our appreciation for the way you have handled the state so far. You have brought about peace in this state. You are security conscious. The members of your team are working around the clock, and I must commend them. Again, Your Excellency, your love for the people of Bayelsa State is unparalleled.
I want to let you know that that's a very big motivation for this government to continue to do more. First of all, to keep the peace and the unity of this state. Secondly, to tackle the developmental challenges of our state that are well known to you, well known to us. And together, when we synergize, we will be able to conquer our environment. Let us abandon the politics of bitterness, the rancorous politics. Let us follow the democracy in the way it is practiced outside this country.
And on that very note from Bayelsa State, we draw the curtain on the program for today. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Thank you for watching.